I have no real updates for you all at this time. There's so many tapes to go through. However, here's the next tape in line that I wrote down. I'm sorry if some things don't make sense. The quality of the audio wasn't the best, but I tried. Radio show host. Another lovely night of music. And I hope you agree, dear listeners. Sadly, we have to end the program. But we do not need to end it immediately. We do have time for a little story at the end. This story comes from the state where this broadcast is from, Washington State. This one came in the mail only last week. So, we apologize if it seems a bit hasty or if the quality isn't that good. I have a good feeling about this one, listeners. I will stop talking now and introduce The Angry Forest Spirit, narrated by John Sampson. Dog Walker. I am not religious and don't believe in ghosts or anything like that. However, based on what I had experienced, I'm not too sure anymore. I've told this story in multiple forms at this point, but no one seems to believe me. My friends and my family have called me crazy. But if this radio show can get the word out, I can probably get someone to help me. This happened on September 4th, 2001, and today's date, October 8th, 2003. I take my dog out for midnight walks every day. He's a black Labrador pit bull mix, so he is not a small dog by any sense of the imagination. Hell, I'm not the smallest person either. So, I'm not too afraid to take walks out at night. Plus, I live in the suburbs. So it is literally the safest place to take a midnight walk. I'm not stupid. I always take a reflective jacket and a flashlight if it gets too dark. I used to walk my dog in a park where baseball and soccer fields are. There is a relatively small patch of forest right next to the fields. What I mean by relatively small is about 9, maybe 10 houses when going by the sidewalk. I honestly didn't pay attention. It has been a long time since I went there. Right, getting back on topic. It was a full moon. My dog, Clive, and I were taking our usual walk. It was a typical night, and I remembered no cars were out, which I thought was strange, but not too weird. I believe it was midnight, if I remember right. Nothing really happened. I just walked up the sidewalk towards the park. There are 2 paths. One wide path that's been maintained and covered in bark chips. Most people take that path during the day. The other path which is closer, is much narrower. The bushes are less upkept on this path. There are still bark chips, but it feels more like you're on a forest trail. I like to go on hikes, but ever since I got a new job, I haven't been able to go up to the mountains as much as I used to. So this was the closest thing to it. Getting back on track again, we walked down the narrower path, and as soon as we took a step on the ground, it felt like someone was watching us, and they were angry. Clive started to growl at something in the forest. I shined my light at roughly where he was growling. I didn't really see anything besides the green foliage and the shadows that were clinging to them. A bit spooked, I decided to keep the light on for both of our sakes, and we went down the forest trail for the last time. The trail isn't that long. It's like 1, maybe 2 minutes if you're taking your time, which I normally do. A bad decision at the time. We walked down the trail, and the shadows seemed to hang on every plant, tree, and bark chip that I moved my light over. Clive was tense. Throughout our walking, the fur on his back was up. Despite his breed, he looked like he was ready to bite someone's throat. Clive was the sweetest dog you could have. Maybe a bit clumsy, but never aggressive. That's when I knew something was very wrong. I started to pick up my pace, but then I heard a deeper growl behind me and a sharp pain in my back. I do remember some things, but I do not know much about what happened. I do remember what I felt. I felt pain, numbness, fear, bliss, panic, happiness. But then I felt calm. Clive was aggressively barking and whining. I tried moving, but my legs wouldn't move. I wasn't lying on the ground. I was still standing. I felt my arm being tugged on by the leash. The creature was right behind me. I felt its breath on the back of my neck. I saw what I thought was its tail. It looked like it was made out of vines, trees, bark, dead flesh, or some sort of moss. I think I dropped the flashlight when its tail came into view, because where the light fell, I saw a massive figure. He was much larger than me, built like a bodybuilder, and had to be 7 feet tall. He was heavily scarred. I thought I saw his teeth, and they were sharpened. But most strangely, he had a bear pelt on his head. The tail was gone from my vision, and the hot breath was gone from my neck. The huge man shoved me away, and my legs suddenly had the energy to move. Clive took the hint and ran. My head was still foggy, so I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know if we were in the middle of the street or back in the forest, although I could still hear the creature and the man fighting all the while. Strangely enough, I thought I saw a man in a mask with a strange cane. Next thing I knew, I was home because Clive was scratching at the front door. I unlocked it and went inside. I probably fell asleep on the floor because I was laying on my carpet when I woke up. I called the police and told them I've been mugged and stabbed in the back. They came with an ambulance and took my statement. I didn't tell them everything because they would call me crazy if I did. Paramedics looked at my back, and aside from some swelling, it looked like a bee sting. A small one, apparently. They left, and later that day, I wanted to see if I could grab my flashlight. I didn't take Clive because he seemed pretty tired. When I got to the park, nothing seemed too out of the ordinary. But where I thought I was last night, I saw most of the trees knocked down. I took a closer look, and I thought there was blood on the branches. But it looked more like tree sap. It was too brown to be blood, and too red to be sap. I found my flashlight, but it was destroyed. I think one of them stepped on it. I told my parents, then my sisters, and my friend. And now I am here. Let's hope someone can help me. Radio show host. And that was The Angry Forest Spirit. I hope you enjoyed that story, and I do hope to see all of you next week for our broadcast. Stay scared and keep listening to happy music on the Cultist Den.